I want to tell you a story. Long ago, in the fabled times known as 1997, a certain young loaf was about to experience something he would remember and cherish for the rest of his life. He was going to see a film. A new film. Okay, so maybe I need to elaborate just a little. You see, this wasn't just any old film, and it wasn't shown in just any old cinema. This was a brand new release, shown in a very special way that the young loaf had never experienced before, through a makeshift drive-in theatre. Now, drive-in theatres may or may not be that special to some, but they've never really been much of a thing in the land of the loaf. As a matter of fact, they actually set this one up specifically for this one event, and the way they did it was pretty darn clever. For the screen, they simply used the parking lot of the local shopping centre, as the wall opposite all the spaces was perfect for a projector, but what really stood out was the way they handled the sound. You see, they didn't just set up some sort of speaker system, no, they actually got the local radio station involved. That's right, they actually broadcast the film's audio through the radio, meaning all you had to do was tune the car into the right frequency, and there you go. This also meant that you technically could tune in and just listen to the audio even if you couldn't make it to the showing, though I doubt too many people actually did that. They might have tuned in pre-screening though, as the radio station decided to go all out and dedicate a full show to this event, complete with call-ins, previews of the soundtrack, trailers, and yes, contests with fabulous prizes. None of which the young loaf won or even entered for, but no biggie, he still enjoyed the festivities. Soon enough though, it was time for the main feature, and regardless of how special or fun the event around the screening may or may not have been, none of it would really matter unless the film itself was also enjoyable. So was it? No. No, it wasn't. It was absolutely fantastic. The young loaf loved every single second of it, and this whole experience would remain a cinematic highlight for the rest of his life. Sure, in hindsight the film may not actually have been perfect, but it will always hold a very special place in the loaf's heart, as it will forever remind him of that wonderful, special day when he first saw a little film known simply as Men in Black. So exactly why am I telling you all of this? Well, firstly because that loaf is obviously me in case you somehow missed that, and secondly because I want you to know where I'm coming from when I say that this piece of trash is an absolute insult to the entire human race. Hi, I'm AtticLoaf, and this is Men in Black, the game. If you didn't already know, Men in Black was absolutely massive when it first hit the scene, or at least it felt like it. It seemed to be just about everywhere with all sorts of merchandise and tie-ins, so I suppose a video game was all but inevitable. Exactly what kind of video game would it be though? With a premise and universe like Men in Black, I suppose there are all sorts of possibilities, but what they went with is still a pretty weird choice. Even if it does make a certain kind of sense. The dumb kind. You see, Men in Black wasn't the only popular thing in the late 90s, as there was also a certain video game genre that kind of exploded at the same time. Specifically, there was one franchise that pretty much single-handedly popularized said genre, even coining the term still used to describe it: survival horror. That's right, this is a Resident Evil clone. I guess this could still work, but it's pretty obviously just an attempt to cash in on a popular trend. I mean, Men in Black might have aliens and whatnot, but they're not exactly xenomorphs or facehuggers, are they? Then again, I suppose Resident Evil can get kinda silly too.
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Silly or not though, RE still manages to be pretty scary, at least at times, and it certainly has a rather unsettling and creepy atmosphere. In contrast, this Men in Black game is never once even remotely creepy, as the only unsettling thing about it is how utterly and fundamentally broken it all feels. For starters, well, just look at it. Look at this absolute mess. I know some may argue that the PS1 era didn't really have spectacular graphics or visuals at the best of times, but this looks terrible even just compared to its contemporaries. Yeah, part of that is due to the pre-rendered backgrounds, which even emulators can have a hard time improving, but it's so much more than that. It just looks wrong. Take the character models, for example. Again, I'm not expecting complete photorealism or anything, but does this look anything like Tommy Lee Jones to you? He looks like some sort of goblin, and he walks like he's wearing a full diaper. I mean, what the hell? As for Will Smith, well...
I make this look damn.
Yeah, I think the creators of this thing kinda misunderstood. J and K only battle aliens. They aren't supposed to actually be aliens. Graphics certainly aren't everything though, and I suppose I have seen worse, maybe, but unfortunately, the gameplay is even more of a train wreck. Not a single thing seems to work in any sort of intuitive manner, and the controls are probably some of the absolute worst I have ever experienced. Sure, Resident Evil had some debatably problematic controls as well, and while I haven't played the original RE games in a while, I'm fairly confident they still worked way, way better than this. I suppose the absolute basics are okay, as these so-called tank controls do technically work, but in this game they are just so damn imprecise and fiddly. Even walking in a straight line is an absolute chore, and considering you do that by just pressing up, I have no idea how that's even possible. Seriously, you move less accurately than this guy. Getting around is only half the battle though, as you also have to actually battle various enemies, and you guessed it, doing so is an absolute mess. Again, it technically works, but dear lord is it unintuitive and cumbersome. Take something as simple as firing your weapon. That should be pretty easy to do, right? Well, I can pull out my weapon and aim, but I can't seem to actually fire the damn thing. How the hell does this work? Wait, how'd I do that? I just fired the gun, but I have no idea how... Are you kidding me? That's what you come up with? Of all the solutions, why? Oh, why would you choose to map firing a weapon to the freaking up button? I repeat, you fire by pressing up.
What the fuck were they thinking?
Beats the piss out of me. The only thing I can think of is that they just didn't think too much about their weapon system, as they were far too busy trying to perfect their honestly kind of inventive hand-to-hand combat system. It still doesn't work all that well, but at least they sort of tried, I guess. You might not even realize there's anything all that special with this system at first though, as it's not exactly explained all that well. Hell, I didn't really put two and two together until I got stuck in this skip in the opening level. Yeah, maybe I'm just dense, but wouldn't you think you could simply jump or climb out somehow? I honestly almost gave up right there as nothing seemed to work, until I pretty much accidentally discovered the most powerful and overutilized feature of the entire game. The kick. That's right, this game actually features kind of a combat mode of sorts, as you're not restricted to just using weapons. You can also fight with both your arms and legs, utilizing various combos as well as defensive moves and dodging. Conceptually, I do think this is actually pretty cool, but in execution, it's absolutely pointless, as pretty much every single obstacle you ever face can be dealt with using nothing but your legs. Need to open a door? Kick it. Need to get out of a skip? Kick it. Need to defeat a giant alien cockroach but I've run out of ammo? You guessed it, just kick it. Seriously, your legs are literally the deadliest weapon in this entire game. Absolutely nothing can stop them. Well, actually, that's not entirely true, as you absolutely can die, but that usually happens as a result of just plain unfair nonsense. Just look at what happens in the first proper mission. Taking place in Antarctica, your chosen agent is sent to investigate the outbreak of some strange virus apparently affecting the research team stationed there. Yeah, nothing familiar about that setup. Anyway, after doing a bit of recon, you'll eventually reach a point where you need to return to a certain workstation to check out some security footage, but when you do, this happens.
Man.
The fudge was that? Why did I just die? Well, as it turns out, I apparently got infected by whatever virus is going around, and it just so happened to reach a fatal state just as I returned to this particular room. Sure, the solution may be pretty simple, just make sure to find the antidote serum and inject yourself with it before dying, but considering you only get a couple of seconds or so to react to what's happening, you may not even realize what's going on before it's too late, forcing you to start over again from your last save. Yes, I said from your last save.
There are no continues, my friend.
Really? Not a single continue? No extra lives or anything? We just get sent right back to the title screen every time we die? Yes, there are occasional save points here and there, but they're not exactly constant, and when most deaths are caused by cheap, instant death traps you basically have to be psychic to avoid anyway, they're barely any help to begin with. Seriously, it's just a terrible system. As it happens though, it's not like you really need to save that much anyway, as this is also a very, very short game. There are literally less than a handful of levels here, as you only get 4. New York, the Antarctic, the Amazon, and Frails Island. That's it! The only other area is the MIBHQ, but apart from the entirely optional shooting gallery, that's really just a glorified character selector. Yeah, I sort of mentioned this already, but you do indeed get a choice of characters before each mission. J, K, or L. You know, L. That coroner lady from the first film that only kinda became an agent for one brief moment before the credits? No, I don't know what she's doing here either. To be fair, it's not like there's really any reason to have a choice of character at all. They all play the exact same way, and there aren't any hidden endings or secret missions depending on who you choose either. You get the same experience no matter what. The only slight difference is in their dialogues and soundbites, as they do have separate voice actors, but that's pretty much it. I guess L does have a slightly different kick to the guys as well, but the effect is pretty much the same, so no. Really doesn't matter who you choose. They're all equally terrible. As are the enemies. I'm not kidding when I say that these might be some of, if not the worst designed and dumbest enemies I have ever experienced. None of them deploy any sort of strategy or tactic, they just run up and mindlessly attack, and while there are situations where that can result in quick loss of health, it's usually piss easy to avoid. All you need to do is spam the shoot or kick button, as that usually results in the enemies getting stun locked and or dying before they even have a chance to retaliate. Hell, even the final boss is utterly useless, as you can literally freeze him in place with the neuralizer and kill him with kicks before he even begins fighting back. It's a complete joke.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Speaking of jokes, I will say that this game did actually manage to make me laugh once in a while. Mostly in a sort of so bad it's good kind of way, but hey, I'll take anything I can get. Take this scene from the Amazon level, for example. It involves your chosen agent getting some intel from an alien informant, after which, well, see for yourself.
Aren't you gonna at least wish me luck?
Where you're going, you're gonna need a whole lot more than luck.
Yup, that actually just happened. I literally burst out laughing when I first saw this. I actually had to pause the game. Why? Because it's literally this.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Something not quite so funny though is the game's soundtrack, or rather lack thereof. There's really only one track in the entire game, and even that only plays every once in a while. To top it off, it's also a really short and generic little loop, so even though it's very sparsely utilized, it still gets really annoying. It's almost impressive in a completely backward sort of way. That's kinda how I would describe this game in a nutshell. Almost impressively backwards and broken. Yeah, there are some laughs to be had at the sheer ineptitude on display here, but not nearly enough to make up for how plain awful the overall experience actually is. I mean, this is supposedly a survival horror game, and yet it doesn't have a shred of horror, and honestly not that much in terms of survival either. Hell, with how short it is, it's barely even a game, so they literally got every single part of it absolutely wrong. The level design is abysmal, the gameplay is boring and unintuitive, and the controls are downright broken. There's absolutely nothing for even the most hardcore of Men in Black fans to enjoy here, as this is nothing more than a shallow, obvious cash grab with none of the film's charm, atmosphere, humor, or fun. Survival horror aficionados are equally screwed, as this may have attempted to copy Resident Evil, but it only copied the bad parts and somehow managed to make them even worse. This is an absolute insult and a complete and utter joke. It is kind of a shame though. Men in Black is just so much fun, and I absolutely think it could make for a pretty decent, if not downright good game. Alas, this is apparently the game as per the title, so I guess that means this truly is as good as it'll ever get. Unless there's some game that's been neuralized from my memory or something.